subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Please follow us on YouTube. Click the links. We always appreciate comments, feedback, anything of the sort. That's Mark Grandy. I'm Evan Giddings. All right, let's kind of move out of the quarterback conversation, Mark, because I do think there are a few things that this offseason is, it maybe doesn't pertain to breaking news or anything, or a guy working out or being tabbed with the 49ers, but I do think this is kind of I don't know, maybe an interesting topic we can dig into, and that is which position right now is most open outside of the quarterback, because this is a very good roster. And I think you could go a few different ways with this. So before I answer, I'll throw it to you first. Where does your mind go when it comes to positions right now that either, I guess, need shoring up, or, are just more open when it comes to those kind of OTA and preseason battles that we'll eventually see?
You might not like this answer, and maybe it's a boring answer.
You're
I
going to
don't
say
know.
kicker.
I was going to say kicker. Yeah, kicker. Because, I mean, we talked about it when they signed Zane
Yeah.
Gonzalez. They gave
Yeah.
up, a conditional 7th-round swap. Essentially, they gave up nothing. And Zane Gonzalez has no guaranteed money on his deal. They can cut him whenever, and they don't have to pay him anything. And literally, it costed them the least it could ever cost a team to acquire anyone ever. A conditional 7th-round swap. So it might not even happen, because it's based on where the two teams finish in the standings. Anyways, so you look at all of that and you're wondering, okay, are they going to replace Robbie Gould? It seems like it's headed in that direction now, and they've already worked out a handful of kickers. You look at some of the reports. I know The Athletic has been on top of this. The Auburn kicker, Anders Carlson, the Michigan kicker, Jake Moody, Maryland's kicker, Chad Ryland. There are others as well that they have, been reported with, worked out, seen play, seen kick, all of that. I think that might be the most wide open position on the Niners right now, Evan. There are other candidates, which we will get to. I'm sure you have one that I haven't thought of. But kicker, I think that's wide open. It is anyone's bet who could win that job. I'm not sure the Niners trust a rookie kicker. I'm not sure they would trust a rookie kicker. It's kind of dangerous for a team that has legit Super Bowl aspirations to hand that job to a rookie kicker. But it seems to me, at least, that job is still wide open right now.
Yeah, I think that's one where my mind certainly goes. Special teams. I mean, I guess you want to say kickoff, punt return. Ray McLeod, up until this past year, didn't give us a ton of confidence, but this year may have restored some of that. So he's probably the guy coming in if you want to dive into some nitty gritty on special teams. The first place my mind went was the second cornerback spot, and I think that's also a position that will be addressed in the draft. I don't know if it's going to be specifically for that second spot, or maybe the nickelback position. We could see kind of a hybrid safety. I know they brought in Miles Hartsfield that can play multiple spots in the secondary, but I think they'll add to that and add some depth during the draft. I understand Diamador Lenore, shout out to Oregon, was very good filling in for Emmanuel Mosley down, for the majority of last season, but my confidence in him really wavered from game to game. And I know he had some great performances, especially in the postseason. Thought he was, good against Seattle, solid against Dallas. But that second position, I'm just not so sure that Lenore is going to be able to maintain. He doesn't have to be Charvarius Ward by any means, but I do wonder if he's going to be able to, one, stay healthy the entire season, two, be able to man down that second spot as he did last year. And right now, if you're looking at places in which you can go out and win a spot on defense, there are very few. And I do think that second cornerback spot is one of them.
Yep, you're right. That's another one that my mind went to. This is a big one as well. We've talked about this position, not necessarily in this exact context, but we've talked about this position a lot. It's right tackle. It seems like Colton McKivitz is going to be the starter, but that seems almost by default more than he earned it. You know what I'm saying? Like this seems like a spot where if there is a third-round pick, one of the Niners' first picks in this draft, that comes in and just absolutely exceeds expectations. Like that right tackle starting spot is not automatic. It's not a given, a dead giveaway that Colton McKivitz is going to start week one. Now they have Jalen Moore as well. Jason Poe is young, but he's more of an interior offensive lineman. That's a spot where if the Niners hit on a young tackle, Evan, and he has a great offseason, a great rookie minicamp, a great OTAs, and plays well in the preseason, that could be a spot where you see a starting job one late in this offseason. Similar to Spencer Burford this most recent year. I know he kind of split time a lot of the season, but for the most part, he was the team starting right guard. I know tackle is different, but I think that's also a spot where there's a chance the Niners starting right tackle week one, or at least at some point this coming season, is not on the roster yet. I would not be surprised if they find a right tackle that they adore in this draft. He has a great offseason, and maybe he doesn't start week one, Evan, but as the weeks move along, he continues to progress and improve. And then suddenly he's this team starter, and they move Colton McKivitz back to kind of a depth piece, a fill in here or there, wherever there's a nick or a bruise or an injury for a week. I would not be surprised if that happens. It seems like they have their starter, but I think of all the the set starters, that one is probably the most susceptible to being, I don't know, switched for the Niners to make a different decision at that spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think that the right tackle spot, if you're looking at the entirety of the offense outside of maybe the third wide receiver, or I don't know. I mean, potentially center. They brought in John Feliciano
Yeah.
primarily to be a backup, but Jake Brendel appears slated for that spot as of now. That could change. But I'm with you that there probably is the biggest question mark on that offense at the right tackle spot. I also do think the second defensive end spot right now is kind of open, opposite Nick Bosa. There's a very high standard on the other side. So,
Yeah.
look, Clellan Farrell, they brought in from the Raiders, former top round pick. He's going to have a chance to challenge. I know they're hoping that Drake Jackson can take that leap in his second season. And I believe he can too, because I thought the talent showed, but I also saw Kyle Shanahan's actions when it came to Drake Jackson last year. He was inactive for 5 of the last 6 regular season games, didn't play at all in the entire playoffs after registering, I think, 3 sacks in his first 6 games. And there was talk of him hitting a rookie wall. And so I think that other defensive end spot is going to be open for grabs. I know that the Niners like to rotate guys in up on the defensive line, and so maybe it's not a matter of who's starting as opposed to who's finishing, who's in third down situations, who's the pass rusher, who's more of a run stopper. But I do think we're going to see a lot of different names thrown in at that second DN spot opposite Nick Bosa.
I think if there is one position, if you were asked, Evan, what position do the Niners draft the most of this year? They have 11 picks. Which position is their most popular pick? I think it's probably defensive end. Because they have Nick Bosa, as you mentioned, they have Drake Jackson. You mentioned Farrell, who they just signed, who was really highly drafted out of Clemson, but has bounced around in the league so far. They also got Austin Bryant, who's kind of been a journeyman. But besides that, there's like basically no one else. And you don't, nothing against those two guys, but I'm not sure how much you want to rely on those two guys in big moments this coming season. So, and the Niners' philosophy, as we know, is offensive and defensive line, and they're showing this offseason it's specifically defensive line. So if I had to make a bet, which position do the Niners draft more than any other position this coming draft in a couple of weeks, I think it might be defensive end specifically.
I can see that. Yeah, I'm definitely with that. And I think with the amount of guys that they keep active on game days, the majority
Yeah.
of those guys, or I guess the largest amount of guys they keep at a certain position group is the defensive line. So I could absolutely see that.